President Trump just tweeting on North Korea this morning. He says this: Kim Jong-un of North Korea proclaims, quote, unwavering faith in President Trump. Thank you to Chairman Kim. We will get it done together. Yes, the North Koreans now say they want to denuclearize, and the president there, Kim Jong-un, has confidence in President Trump, he says. Our top story this hour: resistance from within. An anonymous New York Times op-ed claims to be a top Trump official working to thwart the president at every turn. Trump blasting the inside critic in Washington yesterday.
If the failing New York Times has an anonymous editorial, can you believe it? Anonymous, meaning gutless, a gutless editorial. We're doing a great job. The poll numbers are through the roof. Our poll numbers are great. And guess what? Nobody is going to come close to beating me in 2020 because of what we've done.
Joining me now to talk more about that is New Jersey Congressman Leonard Lance. He is also on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and he questioned Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey yesterday. We'll get into that in a moment, sir. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Good to have you.
Thank you, Maria.
Your thoughts on this op-ed this morning?
I prefer signed op-eds, and I think that the New York Times should have requested who actually wrote it. And I think it leads to the opinion of quite a few that we need to have specificity in this area, and I would hope that the New York Times might agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's not anything different than we've heard from the president's detractors. It's more of the same, and this particular op-ed is somebody saying what we've heard from his detractors for the last year and a half, but unwilling to put his name to it.
That is correct, and let me say I have great faith in General Kelly and, for example, in General Mattis, and certainly I think that the editorial should have been signed, Maria.
And what about great faith in President Trump, sir? Do you have faith in him?
I agree with the president and some of his policies. I disagree with others of his policies. But regarding the system of government we have, Maria, we have checks and balances here in Congress. Indeed, that's what's occurring at the moment in the Senate with the nomination of Judge Kavanaugh, advice and consent. And I believe in our system of government. And as you pointed out at the top of the hour, the economy is very strong at the moment.
Let me ask you about the technology CEOs and executives grilled on Capitol Hill yesterday. Twitter stock yesterday took a tumble after the House questioned CEO Jack Dorsey over bias against conservatives. You specifically asked him about the algorithm's fairness. Let's take a look.
We need to understand, as we use this artificial intelligence for more and more of the things that we do, that number one, that they're unbiased outcomes, and number two, that they can explain why they made the decision in the first place.
Do you feel like you got the answers you were looking for, Congressman?
I think that remains to be seen, and Mr. Dorsey said Twitter would be doing a better job in the future. Was the bias intentional or unintentional? I'm not sure, but regardless of that, there should not be bias, Maria, and it's now the responsibility of Twitter and other companies, Google, for example, to make sure that there is no bias.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he's blaming the algorithms and saying we want the algorithms to be fair. I mean, we're not stupid. Algorithms don't come out of magic. Somebody programs the algorithms. Did you get at who's programming the algorithms and how and what they're looking at in terms of metrics to put that algorithm together?
He was asked that, and you're obviously precisely right that this is based upon human input, and we want to make sure that that human input is in no way biased against conservatives, for example. And I do not believe Twitter has done a good job in the past, and it has to do a much better job in the future, and that was the opinion of the committee, and that is why Mr. Dorsey came before the committee.
So before we move on, I want to ask you about the Kavanaugh hearing, but before we move on from this, what are the potential drawbacks for the tech companies? I mean, what can you actually do in terms of Congress writing a new law? What do you think plays out from this?
Of course, we're the Committee of Jurisdiction for legislation. I am not there yet. I would prefer to have a situation where there doesn't need to be further legislation, but that remains to be seen, Maria, based upon what these companies do in the future. And incidentally, I was disappointed that Google chose not to show up on the Senate side of the Capitol yesterday.
Now, will you subpoena Google? Where does that go in terms of Google just blowing it off?
I think it's a decision in the Senate as to whether the Senate wishes to subpoena, and I hope regarding future invitations, Google will come in voluntarily, Maria.